Hey everybody, welcome back to the Tangent Plant. I'm Colton.
I'm Devin.
We're going to do something a little different today. Instead of just doing normal Tangent Plant stuff, me and Devin both have a pretty solid foundation in the trucking industry. Me as a driver and him as an support office employee doing different things on the backside of a computer. So we're going to talk over the next hour or so, hour and a half, about just different things about trucking from our different perspectives and how we see the trucking world. So Devin,
Um,
why don't you get us started here?
So as Colton said, I've been behind the scenes in operations, as we call it. I mean, different industries all over the world, and in many markets have operations. But in trucking, we obviously have operations. I've brokered. I've been a driver manager. I've been on the yard as a yard supervisor, and then safety. And now I am an operation manager and executive administrator. And there's trucking is we see them every day on the road. You see them when you go to work, when you're traveling, and people don't realize how much goes into that industry, what exactly it is. And I'm going to give you just some brief examples of that. Trucks move around 70% of the freight throughout the United States, not including air, boat, or train. And we can get into the reasons why of examples of why trains I mean, there's multiple reasons why trains aren't it, but there's a couple good ones. Over 3 million heavy duty tractor trailer drivers work in the US. Most US trucking companies operate at 10 trucks or fewer. So they on the road, and Colton can really get into this too. You're going to see your big carriers, your what JB Hunts, your Warners, your Knight
Werner,
Trucking.
Swift,
Yeah.
Knight. Well, actually, uh, Knight is Swift.
Okay. You're going to see those, but there are a lot. And I worked for one that is a smaller trucking company that has fewer than 30 trucks, and they're out there and they're run differently than the big corporations, but it used to be a more family thing. I think now you're still seeing family stuff. But just like across all industries, that's changed. Go ahead.
Majority is corporatized companies.
Yes, a fully loaded tractor can weigh 80,000 pounds legally. On many state highways, let's see, gas stations rely on tanker trucks to fuel their deliveries. Duh. Everybody knows that. There was one. It takes a semi that's driving at highway rate of speed. It says 2 football field length to stop, come to a complete stop. I believe what it is. Now, again, something you can talk about. I feel like the braking systems on trucks have changed a lot over the past 15 years. I could be wrong in that,
Oh yeah.
but
No. Let's see. I want to say that trucks started to convert to disc brakes in 2017. No. Okay, that's not true. Google.
um, I'll listen off here. It says fuel is one of the biggest expense to a truck company, which I would
Yeah,
agree.
it
But
is.
the one that I think is very close to that, and correct me if I'm wrong, is maintenance. Maintenance is a huge.
It is. It depends on
It's
how
such a
old
huge.
it depends on the average age of your fleet too, because
Yeah, well, you're
you're
talking about warranty at that point.
well, yeah, but if you've got a fleet where your average age of equipment is 10, 15 years old, you're gonna start running through rear ends. You're gonna start having to put, kingpins and shackle bushings for your front leaf springs, and you're gonna start running through transmissions and driveline issues. And if your truck is 10 years old, chances are it's got close to 1 million miles on it. Now you're talking engine rebuilds,
Which are expensive. I
thirty to
mean,
$50,000,
yeah,
depending on what you
easy.
got in there. And like the emissions prematurely grenades engines too. Like your average ISX Cummins back when they were big, I think they were only good for like 5 or 600,000 miles. When pre-emission trucks, you could get over 1 million before they were toast. I personally drove a truck with a 3406 cat in it. It was a 3406 E model. And when I got out of it, it had just turned 1.2 million miles on it. And it was The only thing that it had done to it, it had a relatively new head on it because the driver before me had the turbo grenade on him and it went through the head and tore a bunch of stuff up. So they just replaced the head. But the rotating assembly in that engine, the only thing it had done was they rolled new main bearings into it. But other than that, it was factory. Pistons, rings, the connecting rods, everything in the rotating assembly everything was original. But now, where was I going with that? Now, like I said, you're talking engine rebuilds, platinum overhauls in 5, 6, 700,000 miles when before, but if your average age in your fleet is only, like, a lot of these bigger companies will only run a truck for 3 or 4 years. So your average age of equipment is only like 18 months, something like that, 2 years old. You're not having near those issues, but you're going to still run through brakes, tires, oil changes, all your regular maintenance type stuff. Now, obviously your warranty will take care of the bigger stuff that happens prematurely, but if you're, the maintenance isn't nearly as substantial with a newer fleet unless your stuff's out of warranty, and then you have all the extras in, like, the after treatment and emissions system that you have to worry about too, like a DPF filter.
Well, also, if you don't have
cost
if
to
you have a dog
replace
water driver that doesn't know how to drive the truck, then
well, yeah.
you're running into issues there too. I mean, here's the thing: just like any vehicle, semis aren't just any vehicle. You're gonna have random issues, but imagine that your vehicle is driving hundreds of miles a day, every day, without. I mean, and stopping is, well, again, depends on the driver, few and far between. If that left door stays shut, you're running miles, hundreds,
Yeah.
600 plus miles a day, and
Yeah, I did that twice this week.
if you're
I
hauling,
had 2 days this week that was, one day I had 635 miles, and one day I had 660 miles, something like that. The one day was from Birmingham, Alabama to Grant, Oklahoma, and then the following day, or 2 days later, was Fort Smith, Arkansas to Louisville, Kentucky.
yeah,
And I did that both those days. I had like 40 minutes left on my 11-hour clock. I only stopped one time, but
that's if you're.
that's in a 70-mile-an-hour governed truck too.
That's also if you're running e-logs. If you're if you do cattle, if you do like some lumber trucks, if you're doing like e-log exempt, some of those guys can run wild hours. And
Yeah, that truck with the cat in it, I had many a days where his M3406s are, I think the last year they made those was 99.
yeah,
And so that truck was pre ELD mandate. So I was on paper logs for the majority of that till I decided to try to clean up my act a little bit, and then they put me on ELD. But there was many 6, 7, 800, 900-mile days, 20-hour days.
but you're making money. So that's
Well, I was paid by the hour, so it didn't really do me any good. But I mean,
well,
worked
if you're
extra
not
hours.
paid by the hour, we can get in that real quick. Is like pay. There's mileage pay. There's percentage pay. There's hourly pay.
Mhm.
There's some guys that it's percentage. There's a percentage of each load. If the loads where you can get, I don't know, what do you think the average percentage pay is?
7%, I think it is.
So if a load's worth $1,000, you're getting,
$270.
$270. That takes, now
No,
you can make that in the, yeah,
that'd be
yeah,
that'd be like 10%.
no, because if the load's worth 1,000 and you make 20%, that's $200.
Oh yeah, yeah, you're right. You're right. I don't
So,
know what I was thinking. So
I mean,
I looked up the DPF, the low end to replace an OEM DPF with no issues. It says low end is around $3,500 to $4,000. High end, some DPF systems only have one DPF or diesel particulate filter inside the
yeah,
housing. Some will have two separate filters, one for large particulates and one for fine particulates.
Mhm.
That one could be, it says $8,000 to $10,000 plus if the DPF is part of a dual setup, requires special tools, or if injector or turbo issues are also addressed. So
Now, when I
that
started
kind of
in
stuff will absolutely wreck an owner operator. That's why a lot of owner operators will buy a lot of guys when they're first starting out. And this is just from what I see on the road. A lot of guys will just, and doing lease purchase isn't really actually,
it's not a real thing.
it's not a real they're just glorified company drivers. It's just a company truck that you're paying for. But like a lot of guys, if it's just a one man operation, will buy the cheaper $50,000 to $60,000 truck that's pre-emission, that's got 1,000,000 miles on it. But that kind of stuff you can work on yourself. Like if you're
Yeah.
decently mechanically inclined, I could do, if I had my own truck, it would be 20 years old pre-emission, because I can do, the only thing I can't do in my driveway is anything that, like, if I need to take the wheels off a truck, I can't do that in my driveway because I don't have the tools to do it. But I could do, you know, if I got a bigger air compressor and a bigger impact gun, I could take the wheels off and do brakes and stuff all on my own. But I can do oil changes and grease jobs and all your basic maintenance in my driveway. That's what a lot of the regular owner operators do, to save them some money. But on the downside of that is you're doing it in your driveway on the weekend after you just drove all week away from your family. Now you're still spending time in the garage on the weekend working on your truck just to get it ready for the next week.
And the only way that you make money as a true owner operator is that truck moves. That
Hmm.
truck's not hauling
I
something.
just I just talked to a guy today, and I believe it. He was telling me that because he just leased on with a guy around here to do heavy loads, and he's making $10,000 to $15,000 a week now. But your average owner operator, and I can't attest to dry van freight or anything. This is specifically flatbed. But your average uh owner operator will only make like $5,000 to $7,000 a week on a good week.
Which, I mean, that's not someone that's listening that's not a truck driver that may be working a factory or whatever, that you're gonna say, "Well, that's not bad." Right, but your cons of that is
Not
that,
not
like,
when like not when like 70% of that goes to the truck.
and not only that, but you're away from your family.
Mhm.
You're and again, this is the big one that, it's probably gonna be said more than once tonight. If that truck's not moving, if someone's not in the seat of that truck hauling freight, you're not making money. You're not making money. And
Right.
so, like,
You
I wanna
ain't
talk about
If them wheels ain't turning, you ain't earning, son.
yeah. I wanna talk about lease purchase because this is people don't talk about this. They won't call them walkaway contracts, but they are. And I mean, it makes sense, but this is what it is. So let's say, Colton, you're a lease purchase driver and you agree to sign a lease to a truck, right? And you're paying the company whatever, whatever. Well, let's just say that truck breaks down and you're sitting at home for 3 weeks. Well, those
Mhm.
payments still accrued.
You still owe all the bills you had before.
You quit the job. And so technically you're supposed to still make payments on that truck, right? Right. Until they fill it with somebody else. 99% of the time, that's what happens. And then guess what? Colton no longer has to pay for the truck and he can walk away from the situation. Now, I don't know what that does to someone's credit or whatever happens in that regard. I don't know. But I I applaud true owner operators. And look, man, if here's the thing. When we would have old, well, I'm not going to speak to old guys in this regard, but let's say all walks of line as far as age group truck drivers. We'd get owner operators, not at Montgomery, our former company, but another company I worked for. We had owner operators, right? And majority of our drivers were.
Montgomery had one owner operator towards the end there. They just shortly before they shut down,
Yeah, it was one guy. It was a red truck.
they just
Yep.
opened the door to start
Yep.
bringing owner operators on, and then we shut
Well,
down.
and I met him when I was down there. They were getting his truck around and stuff. The last time I was down there.
Right.
But this is what happens. Guys would come on the lease purchase. At least person's truck. They get their first big paycheck, $1,500, $1,600. And what they'd want
Straight
to
to the
do,
chrome shop.
straight to Chrome, brand new CB, come
Yep.
back Monday, they're asking for a $400 advance. And,
Mhm.
I even said something to Montgomery and I even said something to the company I worked for prior. We should do like a class where we sit down and talk about finances,
Yeah.
especially these young guys. Like,
Well, and the biggest thing for a lot of people that do that lease purchase is they think they're their own boss.
they're not.
You're not. You still have a
No.
dispatcher. You're still working for a company. As a lease purchase driver, you make like So I was talking to one of the lease purchase drivers there at Montgomery one time, and he's like, "Yeah, I make super good money. I bring home like $1,000, $1,100 a week." I'm like, "Brother,
It's the same as
I I bring that home. I bring home at that time I was bringing home like $1,200 a week, and I was home every day."
yeah,
And I was like, "Brother, you are not making nothing. Like
no,
you're a glorified company driver, but you don't get any benefits. There's no paid vacation, there's no insurance, there's no
no.
nothing.
You pay for
And
maintenance
and
technically.
and you pay the truck payment, you pay for all your equipment, and you
Yeah.
pay for a lot of places will give you a fuel surcharge. Like they'll pay for your
Uh-huh.
fuel after the fact, but you're up front, you're paying for your own fuel, you're paying for your own permits, you're paying for everything that has to do with that truck. And any maintenance that's involved too. Like a lot of places will have a maintenance plan put together. They'll take so much out of your check every week
Yeah, it's a maintenance
to
account.
fund your maintenance account. But like,
But if it runs out, then the company will front it, is what I've seen it. They'll front that bill if you're going to run from it,
mhm.
like run for them. But at the end of the day, like you said, I think lease purchase honestly is just another way to screw the driver in a sense. And they paint it like, well, you're going to make more money and your own boss. Here's another thing, they can deny loads. They can
Yeah.
say no or yes.
Yep.
And,
I
but
only want the high paying loads, but then you'll sit there for 2 days because you're too stupid to see that your dispatcher has a bigger plan for you. You might have to take a shitty paying load to get you 200 miles to pay for, like, you might have to take a $3 a mile load or a
yeah,
250 a mile load to take that 200 miles or 300 miles to go get you over to a $6 a mile load or a $5
no,
a mile load. The people, most of the time, they just, yeah,
as
it's
a
just,
driver manager, I had lease per owner operators. There's this guy, and I'm just gonna say his last name. His last name was Money. And it really was. And let me tell you something. This dude made money as an owner operator. But you know what he didn't do? He played the system. He had this thing, a load from PA to Indiana, Indiana back to PA, and he'd run that. But the guys that did not turn down freight were the guys that made money. The
mhm.
guys that turned down denied loads. Because look, man, here's the
And they're the
truth.
first ones to complain they're not making no money.
But here's the truth is sometimes I don't have dude, there's not always 20 options for you. Sometimes there's 5, 3, maybe there's
Mhm.
just 2, and you can't, well, this is bullshit. Okay, but you're sitting in Bump, Nebraska. You're
Yeah,
not sitting in the middle of like Chicago or Indy or
right.
somewhere or Cleveland maybe. Like you're not sitting in these or in Florida. Florida's another one. You're gonna deadhead to South Carolina probably.
Yep.
You might be deadheading to Georgia. Either you're not deadheading is a term where you have a trailer, but there's no freight on the trailer. Bobtailing is when you have no trailer on the truck.
Yep.
And so
Just like a bobcat
deadheading
with no tail.
deadhead is that. There's no money being made in that.
Nope.
You're running
Empty.
towards money,
You're
like, but you're not making it.
you're running empty, headed toward,
Yeah.
like, if you get unloaded, if you gotta drive 180 miles to get reloaded, that's your deadhead. Your deadhead miles is your empty miles,
Yep.
for those that don't
And
know.
and I guess standard for me, I guess here's the standard that I've always kind of agreed with and worked with is like 150 miles.
Yeah.
We would a lot of places would deadhead you 150 miles. Anything over that, I mean, it had to be a good load.
Mhm.
But you don't want to. It's the same thing. Deadhead, yeah,
We had a driver, MC. They deadheaded him 500 and some miles last week because it was, like, the only option, and it was a customer requested load or something, and it was already the load was already on a trailer that he went to load, but for whatever reason, he was, like, 500 miles away, and they were like, "Well, you're the only guy that you loaded it. Come get it." So they freaking deadheaded him that far. It was
oh
crazy.
my gosh, dude.
Yeah,
But I mean,
and I don't know what the actual circumstance was, but I was like, "That is insane. You guys are crazy."
and when you're trucking is, and I said it before, trucking is the most unprofessional professional business because you have two sides of it. And like my last job working safety was a really good example of this.
Mhm.
Because out on that yard, it's not that you're not professional, but you're talking to drivers and stuff and you're a little bit more lenient. But then you go
Yeah,
back in the office and you're sitting in a corporate meeting where
right.
you have to sit there and talk have that demeanor and like how you speak to people and the way you're saying stuff. You can't be like, well, shit, buddy. You
Yeah.
can't do that. It's so. you can't. So it's a very and even in the office, sometimes the office is super unprofessional. It just depends on who you're talking to. Usually
Just
the
depends on
more
who you're
up you
talking
go,
to.
but usually the higher you go up, the more if they're talking lower, man, usually it's like, well, fuck you, man. And
Yeah,
they're
right.
in some circumstances, some guys are across the board, no matter if they're talking to drivers, no matter if they're talking to a lowly safety guy or dispatcher, they're very smooth,
Did you
very
say a lowly
professional.
safety guy?
Yeah, lowly safety guy.
Talking about yourself.
You talking about myself. Yeah, I was a lowly safety guy. I wasn't management. I mean, technically I was a safety manager, but I wasn't
Yeah,
like a director or underneath a director or
yeah.
up
Well, you
directly
still got
underneath
to tell
them.
guys what to do, so you're some
Yeah,
sort of management.
yeah, but like here's the thing. If we get into safety, it's gonna open up just this huge thing because I was treated like I was a cop. I was treated like I was a douche. And here's the
Yeah.
thing.
Well,
I
nobody
and
likes to talk to the safety man,
nobody.
regardless of how cool you are.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to
No,
talk to the safety man.
no. And you saw it on the yard. For the most part, I was a pretty cool guy. But there were some situations that I'm sure that you either heard about or witnessed where I became not so cool, where I was kind of a dick.
Well, it all depends on how you're approached too.
I mean, my approach
If
was,
no, no, no. I mean, it's how you're approached.
well, yeah. Dude, you can just see it on dudes, faces, especially like
Yeah.
the 40, 45-year-old guys. It was real hit or miss. Usually they were
Yep.
pretty cool, but you could see they're totally, hey, buddy, how are you? What? What did I
Yeah.
do wrong now? And it's
What?
like,
What do you want? And it's
I
not
was just,
just that, it's that you're younger than them.
and I wasn't a driver. Let me
Yeah.
tell you, if you didn't tell somebody you're a driver, well, you don't know what you're talking about. You just
Yep.
read a book. And it's like, well,
Yep.
man, you're right on something, but here's the thing. I see the same loads every day. It might not be the exact same. It might weigh a little bit different, but they're either going to be stacked one tall to five tall. It's going to be
Mhm.
C channel or this or that or straight beams or whatever. You're not, it's, and not only that, but it's just a numbers game. It's
Yep.
length and weight. So
Yep. Well,
that's,
like and me too. I get that. I get that too. Like I'm 30 years old. I got my CDL when I was 19, so I'm 11 years into this. But these older fellas, your 40s, 50s, 60-year-old guys that look at me and like, "Well, you're still a young buck. How long you been doing this?" Expecting me to say, "Oh, I've only been doing it a couple years." And I tell them a decade. They're like, "Oh, you've been
yeah.
around." So yeah, I've been around. Like I know I've done a bunch of shit. I know what I'm talking about. I got
Well,
more experience than half the drivers at this company.
you'll see a 40-year-old driver, and dude, I'm not lying how many times I've been driving for 38 years. And it's like, dude,
Yeah.
you're 40.
Okay, but you've been doing it wrong for 38 years.
And that was and then dude, I said that one time and man, I got lit up.
Yeah,
Like not only by me, but like by my management. You can't
yeah.
just look, they didn't really like ever give me too strong of a talking to except for like two occasions. I lost my shit one time, pretty good on a driver. And because it was always the dumb stuff. You know where I'd park my car?
Mhm.
So I parked my car right there, 5 o'clock. Usually there'd be drivers parked there. One time, dude, I get in my car, I start it up. I'm not paying attention. I look, and some dude's got six straps in one chain, and the chain's got a knot in it.
Dope.
And it's 4:58 on a third. Oh no, it was a Friday. And
Happy Monday flavored Friday.
I'm not lying. Call me a piece of shit. But if he would have had six chains and one strap and no knot on a 50-foot load, I might not have said anything. I might have just
Yeah.
been like, you know what? Whatever.
It's
Just
Friday.
let
I'm
it,
going
it's
home.
Friday. But no, 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 but no, 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 no. And I went out there. I was like, dude, look. And he said, I don't give a fuck. And I was like, you know what? And I just I go inside. No, I
If
go
you
in the
don't
truck.
give a fuck on something like that,
Yeah.
this is not the profession for you.
Well, this is where I got in trouble. Kinda. This wasn't the main part. It was what I said to the guy. But I went in there and I got a breaker bar and I just started undoing his straps. And he was pissed. I didn't even care. Did I start undoing his straps and I'm throwing him over and I throw over his straps and I start getting his change. And he goes, what are you doing? And I said, you're a fucking company driver. Shut up and start throwing chains.
Yeah.
And oh, dude, I got in Monday morning and he goes, so did you tell a driver to shut the fuck up because he's an effing company driver and to do what you said? And I said, yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. well, you can't talk to drivers like that, man. I was like, well, who's hiring these fucking retards then?
Yeah.
Who's hiring these guys?
Yeah.
Let's have a conversation with. And I almost got written up. That was the closest I ever, because I started getting real. I was like, dude, it was 4:58 on a Friday,
Yeah.
and he's arguing with me. I was like, I was there until almost 6 o'clock. And eventually, he and I, like, the guy came back to the yard. I apologized because they wanted me to apologize,
Yeah.
and
Well, it makes you look like the bigger person anyway.
well, yeah, besides the fact I told them they were making me, I was like, they're making me do this. So, but I was like, look, I'm sorry.
You pull out a
Oh,
piece of paper. I'm sorry I called you a retard on the company
yeah.
property, and I'm sorry that that hurt your feelings because you're retarded and
Well,
gay.
but here's what made it really retarded. It's like, if you've never been to the yard before, okay, okay,
Yeah.
fine. But if you've been to the yard, you met with me, you did my whole spiel. Hey, I'm Devin with my gunman, I'm a safety guy. Going down the thing. We use chains, steel on steel,
Yep.
2-5-8 rule, two chains first 5 feet, one every 8 feet after that. 50 plus feet, 8 chains.
Yep.
Like, it's got 3 or more tiers on it. Need them bellies. And
I only ever put 7 on I still only ever put 7 on 50s.
well, I said that because it was easier than saying 55 feet. It
Yeah.
sounded smoother to me to say 50 feet. And most guys,
Well,
they would.
and 2, there towards the end they changed it to 258. It was like 2585 because they wanted 2 in the last 5 feet too.
Yeah, and I didn't. Okay, there were some things I didn't
That I
push as
thought was
hard.
stupid.
I didn't push that. I didn't ever push that. It was like, do you have the proper amount of chains on? Like, that's, and you know what? I'm going to say this.
Because
By the time
legally, you have to have
every
enough
eighth,
well, so
10
you
feet.
yeah, DOT, I'm fairly because I have had 258 ingrained into my head for so long I don't remember, but I think
10.
it's 2 in the first 10 feet and then 1 every 10 feet after. But
No, two
you
in the first 5, and then one every 10 feet after that. That was the
is it
DOT.
is it 2 in the first 5? I was thinking it was
No,
2
it's either
2 in the
two in the
first
first
10.
6, and then, or two in the first 5. I can't remember. Montgomery was always,
But
they went the further mile or whatever.
they went it was always like DOT plus 1
Yeah.
is pretty much what they did, but you also have to cover 50% of the load weight with your securement, whether it's straps, chains, fucking bungees, whatever.
They didn't
You just
include
have
the
to
they didn't
have.
include the binder either. They never include the binder,
What do you mean?
because wouldn't you account for what the binder hold as well?
No. No. You go to the weakest link. So like a grade 75/16 chain is worth 4,700 pounds. They don't make a 4,700 pound binder. I think the 5/16 3/8 binders are like 5,500 pounds or 6,500 pounds, something
But
like
that's what
that.
I'm saying. Isn't that
You
technically,
No, you go to your weakest link. So
which is the chain?
which is the chain,
Yeah.
because the chain is worth 4,700 pounds. Working load limit 5,400 pounds for a 5/16 3/8 ratchet binders, 5,400
Yeah.
pounds. So if your binder's worth 5,400 pounds, your chain's only worth 4,700 pounds. You only get 4,700 pounds. So they never included the binder because it didn't matter.
It doesn't count.
Right. And like, and you probably don't know, but like there's all kinds of different securement regulations too, whether it's palletized freight or like linear freight, or if you're hauling equipment, there's different, like you still have to cover 50% of the load weight, but anything over, like if you have a mini excavator, it weighs like 8,500 pounds.
Mhm.
That's why you see a lot of flatbed guys that'll just throw 2 straps over the tracks and call it good,
Mhm.
because anything over 10,000 pounds, you have to have 4 independent tie downs from equipment to trailer. And every hydraulic attachment has to be secured. So like if you have a mini excavator with a blade, if it weighs 12.5, call it, you have to secure the bucket, you have to secure the blade, and you have to have 4 independent tie downs from the house holding the machine down.
So is that like 4 separate securements, or hook?
Yep.
Hook is 2, and then
Nope.
hook is
Chain
4.
binder, chain binder, chain binder, chain binder, 4
Oh,
independent tie downs.
wow.
Yep.
That's
But
a lot.
yeah, but like pretty regularly, like, so most of that equipment will have specific tie down points. They'll have loops for you to tie down to. So
Yeah.
like a mini excavator will have a loop
Yeah, I've seen that.
towards
Yeah.
the front of the track and towards the back of the track. And if it weighs less than 10,000 pounds, it's perfectly legal. Have always just run a chain from the side of the trailer up through those loops and back to the side of the trailer to the rub rail, and put a binder right in the middle and crank it down tight so it's pulling, the chain's pulling towards the middle and holding it down that way.
I've had to haul some
But like I
equipment
said,
before.
you still have to secure the blade. You still have to secure the bucket. Same thing with like boom lifts. You have your 4 independent tie downs, and then you have to secure the basket.
Right.
But if you have a wheel loader with no bucket or forks, you don't have to secure the lift arms on the wheel loader.
But it's not technically hydraulic?
No, the bucket is the attachment. The lift arms,
Okay.
the lift arms are the main body.
So the arms just is
Yeah.
it
Yeah, well, you can either, set them down, because without a bucket on it, they don't go all the way to the ground. It'll
Okay.
hang off the trailer about that far.
right.
And so, but like if you load them like I always did, I pretty much would always set the adapter on the tail end of my trailer to keep the loader arms up, because
Yeah.
the tie down points on a wheel loader are up inside the front wheels, and you can't get to them with the bucket all the way down. So if
Mhm.
you're ever going down the road and you see a wheel loader with a bucket on it and the bucket's tipped straight down and the loader arms are up in the air, that's why he's hooked to the tie down points inside the front wheels.
Yeah. I do love trucking. I'm not a driver. I'll never be a driver, but
'Cause
the
you're gay.
operation, it's not because I'm gay, it's because now it just makes me sound more gay.
Yeah,
But
I'm not. I swear. I promise.
I swear I'm not gay. I don't like dicks and stuff, but it's just because like I've never had a want. I feel like if you're gonna do that, you have to have a want to do it. You got to have a want to put yourself behind the wheel.
And the problem is now with I'm gonna sound like an old man with the new age driver.
Yeah.
I can say that because I've been doing it for a decade. A lot of these guys will get into it because I got my CDL. I'm gonna make the big dollars now, and they don't take into account so I went to a vocational school the last 2 years of high school for diesel mechanics.
Yeah.
Half of my day was academics in school, and the other half of my day I was out in the shop working on big trucks. After high school, I went to work as a wrench for a Volvo dealership working on big trucks. I worked there for not real long enough to get my basics learned and that for wrenching. And shortly after that, I got my CDL. And the whole reason that I went through all that mechanicking is so that I had a mechanical knowledge and an understanding of the equipment that I was going to be running. It's big trucks. And you get these guys that, like, and the FMCSA has shut down something like 1,000 illegal trucking schools. Not illegal by definition, but like they don't meet the standards in training or safety or any of that. But anyway, I'll go back to, like, I had the mechanical knowledge, so I'm not. I like to say I'm not your average driver. I know more than the average driver when it comes to how the truck actually operates, because it's probably expired, but when I was in high school, I got air brake certified, like I'm forklift certified, I'm all the things. And like you get these guys that don't know what a lug nut is. You get the guys that pay, I mean, me,
Thousands.
so yeah, you'll get guys that pay thousands of dollars, go to school for 2 weeks. Now all of a sudden they can run this 80,000 pound piss missile going down the highway and don't know what their air dryer is,
Yeah.
or where to check their oil, and or like that's when you get the guys that they're driving down the road and their hood's ratchet strap shut because they just got to run. They just got to run. And like ever since I was a kid, had wanted to be a truck driver, and it was all I could ever think about, and that's all I've ever done. I mean, outside of
Yeah. Why didn't you just question them? I know you just said you wanted to be, but like now, like, couldn't you still make good money being a diesel mechanic around your area?
I'm so far removed from that because I've been a driver for 10 years.
Yeah.
That was a thought in the back of my mind, but I don't think I could make it with the knowledge that I have and the knowledge that I've definitely lost over the years. It'd be hard for me to go from that to wrenching, working in bays beside guys that went to school for 4 or 5 years, however long it takes, and they're ASE certified and all the stuff. So
Yeah.
like those are the guys that are making six figures. I would probably be making 50, 60 grand,
For the
maybe
first, what, 5 years or
for the
something?
first little while till I get all those certifications like those other guys have. Like I'm far enough into this career now, you know, a lot of guys starting out, they're going to these companies, they're shipping them through getting their CDL fast, and they're only making, like I was talking to a driver for Western Express, middle of last year. He said he was making 48 cents a mile doing flatbed stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's what they were
What?
paying him. And it was like $30 for tarp loads. They didn't pay oversized. They didn't do any of that. It was
Dude, they're
48
just
cents a
milking
mile.
these guys.
Yeah. And they don't know any better because a
No.
lot of those guys, and then there's the companies that hire the A to Z drivers, the AZ drivers, the ones that have had some sort of chemical violation, alcohol, drugs, and they
Yeah.
come back and like they're going through the program or whatever, but they pay them pennies on the dollar. Like, well, obviously we're all getting paid pennies on the dollar, but um they're raping these guys, milking them for everything. They're running them into the dirt. So there again, that's where you get the drivers that are making U-turns in the middle of the interstate. They're
That
running
kill
down
people.
the mountains at 70 mile an hour, burning their brakes up and taking the runaway ramp.
It's I
I
don't know why it's not
don't
taken
remember
more
where I was going with
seriously,
that.
bro. Like, I don't know why stuff like this isn't taken more like, why wouldn't you
Well,
want
and
qualified?
there's a lot of companies out there like Maverick's one. I'm fairly certain Maverick will get you your CDL, or maybe they just do flatbed training. But their training program is really extensive. Like it's a few weeks on just on the yard and classroom training before they even send you out on the road.
Which should be
That
like a mandatory thing
yeah.
for some
Well,
of this stuff.
and so it's funny. I'm trash talking all these companies that just ship guys out for getting their CDLs. But when I got my CDL, I went out to Missouri. I was working for a custom cutter on the wheat belt. There's a custom harvest. I worked for a guy that basically had a bunch of his own equipment, would go around the country and custom harvest crops for farmers
Yeah.
as part of the U.S. Custom Harvesters Association. And so I went out to Missouri, no CDL, paid a guy $500. He ran me through the pre-trip. We did some maneuverability in his yard. I went and took my CDL test that same day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Technically I was only in trucking school for like 4 hours.
Right.
Went and got my CDL. And that was also, I took my CDL test in an automatic truck 1 month before they put the automatic restriction reg into effect. So not only did I take my test in an automatic truck, like I said, got lucky. I was only in trucking school for 4 hours, got my CDL. But like I said, mechanical background, I grew up on a farm, was running machinery, have a pretty substantial mechanical background.
You're starting to sound
So
like a guy we both know.
so I
Initials
was
MM.
Marshall Mathers.
No. It's like mossy oak, but just different.
Fuck you.
It's getting a little mossy in here.
Yeah, fuck you. Don't you ever compare me to him.
Don't you put that on my name.
Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. But it's I don't know.
Okay, so two things, and then I wanna talk about something involving trucking, but just a completely different side of it. But with that being said, all the things you just said, you weren't running cross country. You were doing you were going, say, from like Missouri to Oklahoma, and then Oklahoma running grain to a granary. So
Yeah,
you were
so my first oversized experience was a tractor with a grain cart on a trailer pulling a pickup truck on a tow bar behind the trailer. And then we got out to the first job, ran grain for a few weeks, and then to go from that job to the next job, put a combine on a trailer 14 and a half feet wide, 14 feet tall, with a 45-foot hopper bottom trailer on a dolly behind that trailer. So I was 120 foot long, 14 and a half feet wide, 15 feet wide with a combine on. As a 19-year-old, I'd only had my CDL for a month or two.
Yeah. That's a
So
lot.
I was doing outlaw shit, right out of the gate.
Yeah. And so the part that I want to get into trucking, and this is kind of a depressing point, is like drivers and their families, dude. Like there
You
was
really
one
have
guy.
to have a good, strong woman on the other end of that phone
Well,
at home waiting on you for this for trucking in general to work.
now I will say this: I had one guy. He was young. He was like our age. Came to the yard one day. Good looking guy too, and he was. I could just tell something was wrong with him, buddy. I was like, "What's? You all right, man? Are you okay?" And he goes, "No." He goes, "My ex wife is making my life hell." And he
Yep.
goes, "We're trying to get it together again, but this trucking shit is just." I was like, "Well, if you don't mind me asking what happened," he goes, "Well, just like all these other fucking sob stories, she cheated on." And we know a guy too. We know a
Several
guy
times over.
several times over, and this guy just loves it. So it just absolutely gets a kick out of it. I'm pretty
I
sure there's
think
a ring.
at this point, there's got to be a camera installed.
That's what I was literally just gonna say. There's a camera in the bedroom, and he's diddying it from afar. Like
Yeah, 100%.
he's
It's
and
got to.
so.
He's got to be getting some kind of kick out of it.
But how many drivers I heard at that yard and just in general, man, I hate my wife. I
Yeah.
hate my wife. She's just an awful bitch. And I'm like,
Then
then
why
why are you doing this? Well, and then it's like, well, I go on the road,
to get
five
away from
weeks.
her?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
5 weeks in a row. And it's just like,
That's one
well, that
thing I've never felt that at all. And I know me and you've talked about this plenty off air, but I can't imagine having that kind of a life where you feel the need to like you have a life that you have to escape from. Like
not only that, but if you have
I'm
kids, good
trying
lord.
my damnedest, especially now more than ever, to just get my shit done and get home as fast as I can
Yeah.
so that I can get back to my wife and kids because I miss them dearly during the week. Like I can't imagine, and I'm sure all those guys probably felt the exact same way too before their relationship with their wife turned to shit.
Yeah.
But every good thing has to come to an end eventually.
I
But
guess,
I
but
just
man,
but
it's
I
just
imagine having that kind of a hateful heart,
well, I
because
think it's
like I
like
said,
if
I'm trying my damnedest to get home every week just as fast as I can. And then you got the guys that are on the exact opposite end of that, like you just said, guys that'll stay out for 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks at a time. I mean, we both know a guy, he stays out for a month and a half at a time, but it's not because he hates his wife. It's because he's got a financial plan that he's trying to work out. Him and his wife have got this thing set up. They're like 3 years into their 5-year plan right now.
yeah.
And so here in a couple of years, he's hoping to be able to come off the road. That's kind of the same thing with me, going from being home daily, seeing my family every day for, well, my oldest daughter's 5. I come off the road shortly after she was born, like 6 months after she was born, to watch her grow up. And so it's been almost, well, going on 5 years now that
Yeah.
I was home daily. And now because we have 4 of them little rugrats, that shit's expensive. So a man's got to provide. So here we are,
I just
just kind of the same thing. We've got a number in our head that we're trying to get to so that I can come back off the road eventually.
well, here's what I was getting at. It's like I think it's twofold. I think if your wife's miserable because you're gone, she's lonely. You're out
Yep.
2 or 3 weeks out of the month. There's a real nice guy at her job or down the street or walks his dog and they what and y'all are fighting. I think it's equivalent to like, and it's not only that, but like you guys are fighting. You're never in a good mood because your loads always suck. You're always stuck in this
Yep.
receiver. Fucking can't
Yep.
stand this place. And then
Yep.
she can't stand you for just
Just
not,
because
you
you're
want to
so
be
miserable
home.
all the time.
Yeah, you wanna be home, but you can't tell her that because, she wants you to be home
Yep.
too. So,
Yep.
I think it's a twofold thing. Now, I also think there's just some grimy bitches out there. There's some just dirty
and
sluts
and
and
dudes
dudes.
too.
There was a guy, I'll name him because I know his last name, but his name's Willie. Willie was this cool, smooth dude. But you knew that if he got to Washington, outside of Seattle, if he was in anywhere near Atlanta or somewhere in Florida, that he's not gonna answer his phone for like 2 days because he's out here
Hmm.
with some
He's
hoes.
he's hanging out with
Dude,
his girlfriends.
we had a pickup for him in, and this was important. It was in Washington. And I'm calling him, dude, because I can see his truck. He's sitting outside this old water park. and I could see his fucking truck, man. And I'm calling him, calling him, calling him, calling him. Second day at like 4:30 in the afternoon, he answers and he goes, "What? What do you want?" I was like, "Dude, you've got a load to pick up. You didn't tell us you were sorry." He goes, "Man, you know when I come here, what's up? And this is what it is." And I was like,
You don't need to work here no more.
yeah. And I was like, "All right, bro." Well, I was like, he goes, "You send me out here once a month. You know what's up. I need at least 2 days." And I'm like, "All right, man." But also, like, I'd spoken to his wife before. And it's a very like weird thing when like, what his wife's calling me asking like, "Have you talked to my husband?" And I was like, no, he's in an area where there's not a lot of good service. I'm not about to ruin a marriage,
Yeah, right.
but you still feel like a piece of shit because you're technically like
Because
an
you're wrapped up in
accomplice.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like,
You're in it.
but here's the thing. I'll say this: he never said I'm out here fucking hoes. He just always was like, you know the deal, bro. You know what's
Yeah.
up. And so
Yep.
it's like, yeah, I do know what's up. You're not hiking. I know you're
Yeah.
not hiking, but like,
He's slanging.
it's like, yeah. Well, there was this one guy, and this has nothing to do with women. I just love talking. His name was Horace.
Horace.
He is from Oklahoma, this
That's
little town
that
in
that
Oklahoma.
tracks.
And
That is an Oklahoman ass name right there, Horace.
his voice was like this, except deeper. And dude, but when you met him, when you heard him talk, you think he's slender, 6'3", and just smoked to all get out. But when you met him, he's 5 foot tall, exactly 5 foot tall, and still smokes like all get out, but just completely different. One day he called me. It's really funny because my planner was the one that eventually took the call because he goes, "Hey, I've got a buy here, pay here car that I haven't paid for in a month, and they done shut off my car, and I'm outside of a rest area." And he goes, "Do you know how to disable these things?" And I was like, and I put it on speaker, and JP was like, "Send that over here." And I heard him talking, and he puts it on speaker, and the guy's doing his thing, and all you hear is a car turn over, and he goes, "Yeah, fuck yeah, that car's on." I was like, "Dude, you just made, like $1,800. Why
Well,
aren't you?"
not just that, whoever you gave the phone to just helped him commit a crime.
Yeah. And I was like, so I was like, why don't you just pay the car payment? He goes, "I am today." And I was like, "Then why are you doing this?"
Yeah,
I
no
was like,
kidding.
"What are you doing?" So, but this is the story I want to tell about him. I can't get a hold of this man, and he's on the load, and he's got a load on him, and I can't get a hold of him. Well, he answers the phone. He sounds like dog shit, bro. And I was like, "What are you doing? Why are you?" And he's like, "I'm gonna give you a piece of advice. Don't ever eat fish in Oklahoma." I was like, "Well, no shit. You're in a
No shit.
landlocked." Yeah. And he goes, well, I'm like, "What did you have?" And he goes, "I had shrimp, I had king crab, I had all that." And I was like, "Dude,
Why would
okay."
you
And
do that?
dude, I'll tell you this as a driver manager.
I could understand some, like, fried catfish or something,
Yeah, yeah, but
for
not king
sure.
crab. And I was like, "Well, where did you eat
Crab
it?"
legs.
And he was like, "Oh, it's diner." And I was like, "You're fucking retarded." And like, you're just retarded. But as a driver manager, bro, I had some very big arguments. Like, I would be on call, and dude, me and these guys, I mean, I got into some freaking like arguments with some of these because it was over the dumbest stuff. We had a guy shut down a plant,
Mm.
and which is super cool, by the way. And then I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna get a lot of flack for it. If I was a hiring manager, it would take a lot of convincing for me to hire you if you live or are from West Virginia. I
No.
had 6
Yeah.
drivers that were from West Virginia, and they all were complete garbage. All of them that I've ever as a driver manager. Now, I'm sure there's some really hardworking truck drivers out there from West Virginia, but man, they just all sucked. And it really pissed me off too, because it's like, man, our fleets matter. If our fleets stay above board, they gave us misfit. So that was fleet 6 was a misfit fleet. So
There
they
you
took
go.
all the shitty drivers from all the other fleets and put them on our board. We
Hell
went
yeah.
from being almost all negative to in like 5 months, everybody was positive except for one guy. And we ran it up. We got those bonuses, boy. And the one guy that shut down the facility, God, he and I would just go back and forth, man. And now looking back on it, I could have been a little bit easier going guy about some of this stuff. I'm kind of high strung sometimes.
Everybody's a little hot-headed when they're younger.
But like one day I told him, like, that, well, this is what he said. He goes, my family's in a motel because of you right
No,
now. And
sir.
I
Why
said,
don't you put that on me?
yeah. And I said, not me. I was like, "I'm not the one denying freight." I was like, "I coulda gave you denied 4 loads last week that would made you bank, but you wanted to sit your ass at a truck stop and wait for this perfect load. You're not
Yeah,
gonna put that on me, dog." Like, the
right.
reason that phone got real quiet, and I was like, "So if you wanna run and get your house back or something, get in the truck and run, but if not, turn the truck in, and you can stay in that fucking motel. I don't care."
Mm.
And he hung up the phone and called my boss, dude. My boss was like, "You can't call drivers piss poor men." And I was like, "Well," I explained the situation to him. He goes, "That's not fair to you, but you still can't be out here calling our drivers pathetic men." And I was like, "Well, he is. His family's in the shit house because of that man. What do you want me to do?" Or women run it up. You hear drivers complain about their woman. "My wife has a spending problem." Well, then take the card away from her. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
no shit. Shut that shit
Like,
off.
yeah, shut that shit off, dude. Lock it up. Don't I get a paycheck and then she's got 8 pairs of new shoes. And it's just like, well, dude, don't
Wha
do that.
what's the difference in that and going to the chrome shop?
Not a damn thing.
Exactly.
Not a damn thing.
Lord knows I've spent money on dumb shit. You
And
can
I'm
buy
not
you
calling
can buy chains and ratchet binders at Target.
at Target.
Yeah, at Target. Well, you can see my
Like good
face light
ones?
you can see my face light up. No, they're from Vivor.
Okay.
$119.99 for 2, 7,100 pound 5/16 3/8 binders
Oh, that one
and
driver we both know.
2 grade, G80. I didn't even think they made grade 80 chains.
Well, we both know our buddy
Good
Steve. He
night.
had those nice EZ binders, and I loved those
Oh, dude,
things.
I want
I
I
loved
want a
those
set of
things.
those so bad. Problem being is let me look them up here if it'll load. There we go. Problem being is they're like $150 a piece.
Yeah, rightfully so. To be
I mean,
honest with you, I mean, dude.
it's just an overgrown ratchet strap.
Yeah, but it's a nice overgrown ratchet strap that is makes your job way more efficient.
Size 5/16. Oh hell, nah, that's not what I wanted. Let's see. Yeah, 170 with a 36-inch take up is $170 a piece.
Damn.
Good night. 12-inch is $147 a piece. But golly, those are nice, man. Because you hook one end to your chain, you hook the other end to your trailer, you pull the slack out of it, or not your trailer, the other end of the
Yeah.
chain.
Yeah, you push like out.
And you pull the slack out of it and you give it 2 good and it's tight.
Yep,
None
that's
of
what I'm
this,
saying.
none of this sitting here jerking the fucking thing off up above your head for 5 minutes every time.
That's what I'm saying. I think that's why it is worth it.
I agree.
Like,
They were at the company I'm at now, they're pretty on board with starting to cycle some of them through, but
yeah,
they're so damn expensive. It's much easier, especially since we're just starting out. It's much
yeah,
easier to buy a uh a $35 ratchet
yeah,
versus a $180 ratchet. You can buy them on Amazon. Look at that.
yeah. I'm on Amazon. Well,
4 of them for $150.
I think that we're about an hour and 4 minutes in. I know that I
You
want
want to do
to.
a part 1, part 2? We can keep
Actually, I
going.
was gonna.
We can do a part 2.
We can, if you want to go for like an hour and a half, we can just do one. I want you to be able to spend time with your family, and I haven't been able to see my family that much either.
Everybody's asleep.
Even your wife.
Yeah. So it's
No.
just it's just me and you and like 47 people and the Lord right now.
Yeah. And so I'd say we go for like an hour and a half. My wife's been on my hind end
In your
about,
ass.
yeah. I mean, and hopefully we can do
Well,
one.
what else you want to talk about trucking wise?
I mean, we could talk about rates. We could talk about how that goes. We can talk about like, as far as me, like
That part I don't know nothing about. That's gonna be you talking.
well, rates are like, okay, for steel and stuff, they'll do like usually like it's a hundredth pound. So say if you're hauling 49,000 pounds worth of steel, the way you're getting paid is per 100 pounds. So like say it's the rate is like $1.70. So you take 490 times $1.70, and that would be your rate because
Mm,
that's by the hundredth pound. And then your fuel surcharge, let's just say, is like 44%, which right now in some areas, in some places, the fuel surcharge is 44%. So you would take that 49. Well, here, hang on. So like if we're looking at a load right now, let me pull it up and I'll tell you exactly what we're talking about. Because I like telling people this stuff because to me it is interesting.
It's obviously different if you have like a contract or something set up with a specific shipper.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like if you're hauling steel, usually this is what you're looking at. Like you're not looking at your if you're hauling coils or beams, this is kind of like what you're looking at right here would be like, and this is me being just real, whatever. But if it's like 49, if it's 490 pounds, times, 170, that'd be $833, right? Well, then times that by 44%, and you've got yourself, which would be 0.44. Yeah, you're looking at an
Yeah.
additional $366. So really, you're making like almost $1,200 for that load with the fuel surcharge. And right now, in some
Nice.
places, the fuel surcharge is 44% of the load. So now imagine you got a heavy load, which I know a lot about right now, and you're
Yeah.
doing 900 times, let's just say the rates to it, let's just say hypothetically, $2.75. That's $2,400. And then times your 39%, you're looking at additional $965 on top of your 2,400 just for fuel
Damn.
surcharge.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Well,
so
them
if you're
fuel
pulling,
I know those fuel surcharges really help out too. That really drives the fuel cost down.
oh, dude, when I brokered freight, I loved it. When I was running, my moneymaker was raw copper loads. Let me tell you something. Brokers get such a bad rep. Brokers get a terrible rep, man, because I mean, granted, I loved what I did. And in my end of it, at least, it was the least responsible job in trucking. And I made a lot of money doing it. All I had to do was book the freight, track and trace, make sure you got BOL in, we're kosher. I'm getting paid. And so let me tell you something, dude. When Macro Point came out and you were having to get tracked by your cell phone, you know how many drivers refused loads just because they were getting tracked on their cell phone?
Yeah.
Like
That's one
old
thing
guys.
that's one thing that I'm so glad I don't have to deal with. All the brokers that we work with have access to our Samsaras, and so they can see exactly where our truck is at any given time. And so we, as drivers, when we started at this new company, they told us if you get hassled by any broker, block their number. They said because once they get frustrated that you won't answer the phone, they'll start calling us, and then
Yeah.
we can deal with them. And
And
like
brokers will, dude. They'll call you.
yeah. Oh, they'll call you 100 times a day.
Yeah.
It's the worst thing ever.
Hey, where you at? Are you close to what you about 500 miles out? Okay, cool. It's like, dude, it's 8:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Leave me the fuck alone.
I
You
haven't
know
even
where
started
I'm at.
driving yet. Yeah.
Yeah. You know where I'm at.
Yeah. And like now there's apps that you download for tracking. And it's like, are you paying my phone bill for me to eat up my data and burn my battery up, make my phone hot as hell while you're tracking me?
Yeah.
No, you can suck my ass.
And I get some of that, but on the other end of it, it's like, especially with someone your age or my age, like just download the fucking app, bro.
No.
Uninstall it when you get done. But yeah, and see that's where you and I'm like, just download the fucking app. Like we're trying to make money here. Download the app, 2 seconds. You don't even really have to log in.
But
Just
so
click the button.
before I have downloaded the app before, or whatever app it may be. I've done it a couple of times, but it was because they didn't have access to tracking my truck.
Uh-huh.
But like most brokers now have access to, like when you accept the load, they can track you based on your ELD. Like they can see where you are at any given time. So fuck that app and fuck you for calling me 100 times a day. You
I
suck
agree.
my ass. Call the company. Call the company because they can see exactly where I am at any given time. Don't call me. Lick my
And
nuts.
as a broker, I would say that there's target rates. So say there's 4 grand in the load. Let's just say technically there's 4 grand in the load. The target rate is maybe 15, maybe 2, maybe 25. But there's a target rate. And unless it needs to move, they're not going to come off that target rate. And like as a broker, I was a shysty dude. So say there's 2 grand in the load. I'm calling you. I say, you're willing to do this for 4? And I'd be like, $400. Are you serious? Like, I can come up, I can come up 200 more dollars, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, I could possibly do it for six. Well, would you do it for 575? Buddy, just give me six. All I got into it, man, is I've got six in it. Why don't you
Yeah.
just do it for 575 or whatever? We'll call you. I'll get you on the next one. No, I'm not gonna get you. Maybe I will. If we're doing a lot of business, maybe I will get you on the next one. Maybe I, but
Yeah.
like if I don't do a lot of business with you, I don't know you, Craig. I just know that you signed our contract and you're willing to go. You can call me
Yeah.
a piece of work, but look, here's the thing: is like if you were in my seat, you'd be doing the same fucking thing. You wouldn't be trying to give anybody a fair shake because the fair shake is I'm only getting paid $20 an hour, but I get 10% of each load or 8% of each load.
Yeah.
That bonus pays for my BMW or pays for this condo I got or
Drive a
whatever.
Corolla.
Fuck you. You drive a Corolla. Like
I have one in my driveway
I'm
currently.
driving this BMW here. Like if I have like the people that I ran, I got Warner wouldn't sign our contract for like 10 years. I got them to sign our contract just based off those raw copper loads. Let me tell you something. I made so much money off those raw copper loads. Sometimes I dream about booking them. Like I made buku bucks off those raw copper loads. Here's the thing. There's also no federal regulation. So like I don't have to give you a certain percentage. It's whatever the guys say the percentage is. And if I'm willing to come off of it, okay. But if I'm not, and it's a Monday and it's 8 o'clock in the morning, and that load doesn't have to really pick up till Wednesday, I'm not going to budge until Tuesday afternoon
Yeah.
or Wednesday morning. I'm just not
I
going to
mean,
budge
that
from
makes
it.
sense.
But like if it's Friday and your dude needs to get home, he needs to get to Tallahassee, and this load takes him, to Tallahassee, and it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you're probably going to be okay if I jip you,
Just to
and you
get
don't know it,
his
just to
driver
get you
home.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can call that being a douche. You can call that being, you know, in the background. It's just a couple $100, sir.
Yeah.
But like, and it is, and it's a slimy business. But at the same time, you can make good deals, you can make good money. But the thing of it is, if you're going to make these very fair deals, you're going to not come out with the same amount of money if you're willing just to squeeze a couple pennies out of a guy. So
Yeah, my funny bone.
I don't know, man. The whole business is cool. See now people get paid. See now there's so many different facets to this business. And not only that, but if we're talking about tracking systems, dude, with some of these tracking systems, I can see for seatbelts on, if your keys in the ignition, how fast you're going, how much fuel you have. I can see a lot of stuff. Where you've been, where you're going.
One of the drivers that we both know, he called me the other day and said, "Yeah, they called me," and was like, he said, what are you doing right now?" He said, "I'm just trucking." "Oh, what's up?" He's like, you have 10% fuel?" Like, he's like, "Yeah, I got 39 miles to empty. I'm watching it." He's like, "When are you planning on stopping for fuel?" He's like, "Oh, at this next exit, about 3.5 miles from here." He's like, "Oh, thank God." It's funny. He got a cold call from management like, "Hey, maintenance just about had a heart attack. Are you planning on stopping for fuel?"
I'll tell you where I used to work, where I worked before, that was a big thing was like keep those tanks. If you have a full tank, if you have full tanks, you're fucking retarded. Like that was kind of the deal.
Say that
It
again?
was like if you have full tanks, you're kind of retarded. Like that was kind of the get up at where I used to work. Why? Weight. So we're hauling
Yeah.
heavy. So you have full tanks
Well,
of gas.
where you
The Jew part?
Yep. Well, they don't exist anymore, so fuck them.
You get a call from the owner of your company in a couple of days. Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Fuck him, huh? Yeah.
He's not gonna watch this.
Oh, dude, it'd be so funny if he did. I would laugh so
I
hard.
get a cold call from RM himself, like, "Hey, what
Yeah,
are you talking about?"
yeah. You have no idea how
Uh,
much my restaurant cost and how much it cost me on this.
okay, now you're going too far into it. I actually work for the man, so
Watch
I would like to talk about CB radios.
Are you about to nerd out on CBs right now?
Well, so the other day I saw a video of an audio recording from the 70s of
Mhm,
two truck drivers talking back and forth on the radio. And it
mhm.
was the most magical conversation because back in the day, and it's kind of a lost art. I mean, like I understood what they were talking about, but the average person would be like, these guys are retarded
Yeah.
because there's code words for stuff on the CB, but nobody uses them anymore. Like the only code that I hear on the radio is 10-4, which means message received.
Yeah.
But there's code words for stuff like cops and ambulances and accidents, and there's words for like Waffle House, like a restaurant like Waffle House might be called a greasy spoon
Uh-huh.
because it's just nasty food. I mean, it's not nasty, but it
But I
ain't
get,
good.
yeah.
It ain't good for you. It's
Yeah.
greasy. It's and nobody. I mean, people use the radio now like me and you were talking, just having a conversation. It's not. It's
It's
not like it
fluid.
was. It's not like it was. And like if anybody's interested, I would recommend looking up videos of how people used to talk on the radio because it's beautiful. And everybody understood the lingo too. And now, well, that's what cell phones are for. You know, nobody has radios anymore. Very rarely. And all it's funny. Here we're going to go back to dog shit aggressive drivers. It's always the guys that don't have CBs that drive like assholes. If you have a CB in your truck, if you do something stupid, you're going to get yelled at for it. Because chances are the guy that you just cut off or the guy that you just about swerved into, he's going to have one. He's going to say something to you, you know?
Mhm.
And so if you don't have one, you can't hear that guy yell at you. And so all the time I'll hear somebody yell, you stupid cocksucking motherfucker, keep it in your fucking lane, use your mirrors, blah, blah, blah. And then like 30 seconds will go by of just silence. And then somebody will say, now you know damn well that guy don't have a radio, you
Yeah.
know? And it's like that all the time. And then you get the guys that do nothing but rile guys up in traffic jams, and guys with base stations sitting in big cities. You say one thing about Trump or Biden or anything political, and it just lights the radio up. People will be yelling at each other for an hour over their political beliefs, and
You
it's
have
like,
no idea. You
yeah,
have no idea what you're talking about.
exactly. Calling people gay. You hear the N-word a lot, which is surprising in 2026.
I mean, it's not that surprising.
Just for no reason. Like I'm not saying that there's a reason, but like there's like we were in a traffic jam, or I was in a traffic jam a week or two ago, and just like every 10 seconds somebody would go, shut up, N-word, but like nobody's talking. But like literally every 10 seconds it was shut up, N-word, you know, and it was like, this is why nobody runs CBs anymore, because it's nothing but degenerates.
Yeah.
But you know, ever since I got my CDL first, I've always had a radio in my truck, except for if I'm in a rental or a spare truck or whatever. I'm only going to be in for a couple of days. I won't have one in it, but I've always had a radio in my truck, and I like radios. I've got 4 of them on the bench at home and 1 in my truck. Well, I got 3 on the bench, 1 in my truck. I have 3 Strakers. I have a 447, a 497, and a 655. And then I have just a regular Cobra 29 for a spare radio. And one of those, like if all 3 of those take a shit, I have a junk spare one.
Yeah.
But I run big antennas, and I make sure my SWR is right. Like I kind of nerd out when it comes to radios, and I wish that CBs would make a comeback, because like my radio some days will be silent for my entire shift, even if I'm in a major city or in a traffic jam or something. Like some days it's just silent all day. And then some days, if the conditions are right, I mean, I'll be in Michigan listening to somebody talk skip from Texas or California or Florida. There was one time I heard a dude from Jamaica. God, I can't think of what his call sign was, but every time he would let off right before it was always nobody get hurt, nobody, sex bomb, beep beep. And then and then I don't know, whatever, 10, 15 seconds later, he'd come back up and start talking. Nobody get hurt. Nobody. Sex bomb. Beep beep with his Roger beep on his radio. But that guy was from Jamaica. And he might have been here. He might have been from Jamaica. I don't. But on those perfect condition days, if you have a strong enough radio, you can contact the International Space Station,
Hmm.
which I think is the coolest shit ever.
Yeah.
Because I'm a radio nerd. I would love to have a base station set up in my house because I would be the guy that twice a year, whenever the conditions are perfect, I'd be the guy trying to reach the International Space Station. But
Well,
because
they're
so
underwater. They're not even in space.
yeah,
That's
that's
all a
true.
lie.
That's true.
They're in the
Yeah,
ocean.
that's true. Yeah, I forgot about that. They're down in the
Yeah.
Mariana Trench. That's why we
Yeah.
can't go down there because it's
Yeah.
all a conspiracy.
It is.
But yeah, man, I wish Seabees would make a comeback. I thought they were for a little while because they're for a couple of years. I would talk to guys just all the time, rant like not even anybody that I know, just like trucking brotherhood. People was talking to each other. I was in a traffic jam in the middle of nowhere in Tennessee 6, 7 years ago.
Okay.
And there was a couple of guys talking and they were saying something about the teddy bear. And he's just like, the boy, these young bucks, they wouldn't know nothing about that teddy bear. And I said, so I keyed up. I don't remember how old I was. I might have been 23, 24, something like that. And, well, I guess that would have been 6 or 7 years ago. And I was like, I'm only 23 and I know all about that teddy bear. Come on with it.
Ugh.
He was like, what? What are you talking about? You know about that teddy bear. And I said, oh, yeah, baby. I know all about that teddy bear. I'm a big fan of that red Sovine. Come on. And so then me and him got talking about old timey country music and the trucker storytelling era of country music and all the different artists we liked and songs that we liked and knew. And he ended up telling, I mean, this is all over open air on Channel 19, telling some stories about when he was a kid trucking with his dad and some things that he'd seen on the road. And it was a really cool, I'll remember that forever. But that's the only time that's ever happened
Yeah.
because it's not the same. I mean, even in the last 10 years of trucking for me, it's totally different now than it was even 10 years ago. I can't even imagine how disappointed some of these old heads are with how it was back in the glory days of trucking in the
Yeah.
70s, 80s, even 90s, early 2000s compared to the way it is now.
Well,
It's
it's because it's all been corporatized. It's all been
corporatized, it's all
governed.
cutthroat. There's so many regulations and
It's almost too
red tape.
much.
And part of me, here are we going back to the dog shit truck driver that don't know nothing. The FMCSA regs change every 90 days. They update the green book every 90 days with something. It might only be a couple things here and there that's not really mean much about anything, but like, how is a guy supposed to keep up?
You can't. That's the point.
It's been
You can't.
so over-regulated. Like, for instance, if I get a speeding ticket in my personal vehicle
Mhm.
while I'm off duty on my personal time, that goes against my CDL. I have to tell my employer, and it goes against their insurance because I have a speeding ticket in my personal vehicle, not in a commercial vehicle, not in a truck, not working, not doing anything. It goes against my safety score as a driver that I got a speeding ticket in my personal
Well, that's
vehicle.
also because
off
of
duty.
insurance. Insurance has fucked a lot of things over.
Yeah.
Like, just it's a whole gambit. And there's a lot of gray area in trucking. You talk to this one DOT officer, he says something. You talk to this
Yep.
other DOT officer, it's okay.
And it's a lot of it that you run into too, like dealing with DOT is at what point in that day has he got the chance to be pissed off? It's all, and like you can say that, well, they're just doing their job. But I've met some really cool DOT officers over the last 10 years. They're so cool. Sit there and chat with you for half an hour. I mean, they're wasting your time. They're eating
Yeah.
your clock up, but I would much rather that than get 6 violations. Not that I would ever get that many to begin
But
with.
no, but I understand what you're
I
saying.
run a tight ship. It's like, and then you get the guys that have either had like the last traffic stop they had, run them into the dirt, or they're just, something's happening at home. They're just having a bad day. I got a guy one time. This is back when I was a cool guy. doing heavy haul stuff. Well, heavy haul. I mean, I was on 6 axles pulling a low boy, but I had trying to think of the word, like a catch basin.
Mhm.
I had the bottom half of a catch basin was 14 foot 8 inches. It's just short of 15 feet wide.
Yeah.
I was like 108,000 pounds. Nothing too crazy. Big concrete structure. Anyway, and so my permitted speed in Indiana, anything over 10'6" in Indiana, you're dropped down to 55 mile an hour, no matter where you're at.
Yeah.
Well, I was also heavy, so that cut me down too. But regardless, I was supposed to be doing 55 mile an hour according to my permit. I was being that I was so wide, I had a pilot car and I had a escort behind me too. I had my cruise set at 55 miles an hour because I was 15 foot wide, over 100,000 pounds. I wasn't pushing it, and he clocked me doing 62. But like I said, I had my cruise control set at 55, and the best thing that we could gather was that he clocked my pilot car up there yo-yoing,
Yeah.
keeping space, and he wanted to blame me for it. Said I was doing 62, but the posted speed limit was 60 miles an hour, so he couldn't really get me for speeding. So he gave me a
Yeah.
permit. So he gave me a permit violation instead.
Because he went against the
Because technically I was, well, not even technically, because I wasn't doing it. He clocked me doing 62 when I was supposed to be doing 55 according to my permit. So he gave
Yeah.
me a permit violation for doing a speed that I wasn't even doing, because he walked up and down my truck 3 times looking for something wrong.
Yeah.
Couldn't find anything. All my lights worked, all my tires were good. My securement was on point, because that's one thing I've never played with is my securement. I mean, I'll let a couple of things slide, but I never haul anything unsafe.
Yeah.
And so he couldn't find anything wrong. There wasn't anything wrong with my truck. My driver's license came back clean. He had to get me for something. You know, you run into those kind of guys too. Like, what day was that? Tuesday? No. Yeah, it was first thing Tuesday morning. I was headed south. It was on 75, I-75, just south of London, Kentucky. Got pulled into the scale house in there. Well, didn't get pulled in. It was open, and we don't have scale passes yet. So got pulled in. I went across the scale, the weigh-in motion scales, got the green light, was going around the stop scale. As I was going by the windows in the scale house, the big red light that said park and an arrow pointing this way, and I was like, oh fuck, you gotta be kidding me. And so I had a light on my trailer that's been fixed since, that had been fighting me. It wouldn't stay plugged in. And when I left the truck stop that morning, I plugged it in, made sure it was plugged in, because I knew that scale house was coming up. And when I was passing when I was going right in front of the scale house, I looked in my mirror and that light was out. And I was like, that's it. That's why they're pulling me in.
Yeah.
Out. And so I pulled around back, found a parking spot, parked. Guy comes up, the inspector comes up, says, hey, pull back on around. We're gonna pull you in the shed and do an inspection. So okay, no problem. So I turned my lights off, pulled around, parked in front of the deal. He says, morning, sir. Your DOT number came up, fresh, not very old. We're just gonna do an inspection real quick, make sure you're up to snuff. I said, okay, no problem. He said, give me your license, registration for the truck, and your bill of lading. So okay. And he said, let me see your ELD. And so I put my ELD in roadside mode, handed it to him. He went through it and he said, all right, I'll be right back. If you need to do a walk around, do a load check, whatever, or, use the restroom while you're here. He said, I'm going to be a few minutes, so just do your thing. I'll be back. I said, yes, sir. And I don't know if he was giving me the opportunity because he saw that light was out to try to get it fixed, or what that was. But I turned my parking lights back on, walked around to that corner, did a little and plugged that light back in, went to use the restroom, got back in my truck. He comes out, says, all right, well, your driver's license come back good. Everything's fine. Registration's good. Your lease agreement, everything's fine. Let's pull on in the shack here. We're going to do a full inspection. I said, okay. The only thing he didn't check, he didn't pop the hood. Checked all my lights, checked my tires, thumped them, tread depth them, went under the truck, walked up and down the pit, had me pump my brakes. He chalked my wheels, had me pump my brakes, check for slack adjuster stroke, or I don't know, whatever you call it. Brake chamber, the push rod. That's what it is. Push rod stroke.
Yeah.
Or length, whatever. Comes back out, Says, "Well, everything's good." I said, "Yeah, the truck's not that old." I mean, at that time, it only had like 6,000 miles on it.
Mhm.
And, I said, "I figured it'd be a nice, easy inspection for you, being that everything's pretty well brand new." He's like, "Yeah, yeah, I didn't realize that until I actually got under there." I was like, "Oh, hell, there's still paint on all this stuff." I said, "Yeah, it's only got whatever it was, 6,000 miles." So he's like, "All right, well, let me go back in there and finish up your paperwork. I'll be right back out." And, he comes back out and, says, "Hey, you had a hours of service violation last week." I said, "Yeah, yeah, I know. That was my fault. I messed up because in your ELD, your electronic logging device for your hours of service, for the people that don't know, you're allowed to do what's called a split sleeper berth or a sleeper berth split,
Yeah.
where instead of after your allotted 14-hour shift for that day,
Mhm.
you are legally mandated to take a 10-hour break, whether it's off duty or sleeper berth. You have to take a 10-hour break. Well, with this sleeper berth split, you can do a 3 and a 7 or a 2 and an 8, and then it counts as your 10 hours, but then you don't get your full shift
Yeah.
next day. It's a shortened
Yeah.
time, but it's based on the hours that you worked the day prior or something like
Yeah.
that. I'm not quite smart enough to have it all figured out, but so anyway, I told him, I said, "Yeah, I was trying to do a sleeper berth split. I did my 2 hours sleeper berth, but then my second break, I just logged it all off duty, did a 10-hour break, and I should have logged some of it sleeper berth, and by the time I realized it, I'd already certified my log for that day and I couldn't go back in and edit it."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Okay, all right, that sounds, yeah." So he goes back inside, comes back out, says, "Well, I didn't write you up for any violations. Everything's good. Truck's about brand new. Your securement, everything's tight. The inside of your truck's clean. You look professional." He said, "I believe what you're telling me is true about your sleeper berth split. So I'm not going to write you up for a 14-hour violation. I just notated it that you logged it incorrectly." He's like, "You're doing great. Have a great day." Super nice guy,
Yeah.
but really like super nice, really, really professional. Me and him actually joked a couple of times back and forth. But it's like there again, it was like 8:30 in the morning. He hadn't had the
Yeah.
chance to get pissed off that day,
Yeah.
dealing with a bunch of foreigners that don't speak English.
Come back at 2:30, and that's probably a different story.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
You come back towards the end of his shift. I might have got that 14-hour violation.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for real. For real.
But like for me personally, I've never, aside from that one time where I got that permit violation,
Yeah.
I've never really had a bad experience either
Yeah.
just getting pulled over for an infraction that was obviously my fault, or just getting a random DOT inspection, or, getting a load check because I'm parked somewhere and they're just like, "Hey, I'm just going to check out your securement, blah, blah, blah." So, okay. Cause that happens too. To where you're not actually getting pulled over. Like if I'm
Yeah.
parked on an on ramp or something doing a load check where it's legal to do
Yeah.
so, there's not any no parking signs.
Yeah.
Every now and it's only happened to me once or twice, but sometimes cops will just pull up, the DOT officer will just pull up behind you. No lights, no siren, no lights or nothing. Like you're not actually getting pulled over. They just want to come check your shit out while you're sitting there. And even with those, like 90% of the time, like I'm always super respectful. Yes, sir. No, sir. And I'm
Yeah.
typically my shirt's tucked in. I'm wearing closed-toed shoes or boots. My pants are usually pretty clean. The inside of my truck's usually pretty clean. And like I always try to crack a joke or something, but that would callback is we're coming full circle here. You being not obviously not an officer, but you being on that side of things, it's all about how you're approached and
Yeah.
how that interaction goes. Because if I was a dick and was just being combative and difficult, that's a surefire way to get an out of service violation.
Oh, well, I got called out for that because if you're a dick to me, I'm looking, you know what? I was looking at your permit book, but now I'm going to check your airline. I'm going to check your glad hands. I'm going to check everything on that
Yeah.
trailer. And then you know what? Let me see your log. Let me see your ELD
Yeah.
real quick. Let me see that
Yeah.
tablet. And then you're like, I was like, all you had to do was just shut up.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't do this. But now since you're pushing me, I want to push you. And I'm like, well, hey, buddy, there's a problem with your logs here, just like
Yeah.
that. Or dude, you see this little tear in your airline? You know what? I'm gonna call maintenance.
Your airlines are chafing. We're gonna have to
Yeah, they're
get those
chafing.
replaced for
You
you.
know what? Let me give a call to maintenance. It won't take that long at all. Buddy, I'm just
There's
trying to leave.
you got a slice in your sidewall right there. I can
Yeah,
see. Ooh,
yeah,
I'm sticking my screwdriver in there. I can feel cords in your
yeah,
sidewall.
yeah. Well, hey, buddy, I'm gonna have to call ma I'm just trying to go home. I was like, "Yeah, me too."
This tail light of yours, it's got 3 diodes that ain't lit in it. We better get that replaced for you.
And now it's, now it
Now
but
you're gonna sit there for 2 hours just because you're being a dickhead.
yeah, and is that fair? No. It's not, and I get it, but at the same time, like I said, approach, it matters.
Yep.
And I and
I've
I
I've always had the sentiment, obviously you don't bite the hand that feeds you. So you don't
Yeah,
piss off dispatchers, you don't piss off DOT cops because they can shut you down, at just because they want to. And you don't what did I say? Dispatchers, mechanics, or dispatchers, DOT cops, and mechanics.
yeah,
Those are the 3 people that I'll do my best to keep a level head.
yep, I agree, but we are looking at about an hour 45 she's a loving wife. She just wants me to spend some time with her.
How dare her?
Yeah, how dare her. But I would like to continue this next episode, talk about trucking and some more stuff before we get into whatever else we're talking about.
Because, like I
And
said, I've been at it for 11 years now. I've got plenty
yeah,
of stories I can tell.
yeah,
Not just about me, but other drivers too. So,
yeah, for sure. But thank you, everybody. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. We appreciate you guys and hope everyone has a good night. And if you're trucking, stay safe and we'll talk to you later.
we'll see you next week.